Welcome back to the Final Mile Vodcast. I am your host, Dooner, and today we're looking even deeper into the tech, people, and processes that drive last mile delivery, especially through the lens of the post. And today we have a great guest from, it is PostNord's Christian Ostergaard. Christian, introduce yourself to our lovely audience today.
Yeah, hi. My name is Christian Ostergaard. I work as a senior strategy guy in PostNord, and you can call me a little bit of a lead visionary when it comes to anything that has to do with IT production, which means everything that happens behind the lines, behind the scenes, from our customer when we meet them the first time until we deliver to the end customer. So this is my range of interest and where I'm trying to push the boundaries a little bit.
So Christian, where do you come from? How did you end up in the wild world of postal service?
I've been here for 37 years now. So, actually I started when I was studying. I started to work in the postal industry, and I stayed when I was finished, took my MBA, and at that time there was quite a lot of unemployment. So I found out it was better to work. So I worked on the floor all the way up to where I'm sitting today, being up and down. I've been working in PostNord, how can you say, postal network, like postal operator. I ended up as head of logistics there. Ended up in bpost in Belgium, rebuilding the network or the logistical business for bpost. Came back to PostNord in 2010, and been working on more or less the IT side of our operation since then. And the last 2 years I've been concentrating on strategy. Polishing the crystal ball, looking into the future, something like that.
So after 20 years, do most of your friends and family still think you're the postal delivery man who's bringing smiles to the mailbox? Well, what is the most misunderstood thing about your job?
I think that it's the difficult thing is actually to explain what you do, because you're looking into the future, and that is what is the future? The future is around us all the time, and often you get confronted with things happening yesterday or the day before. And which in general always was, I didn't get my parcel. Can you tell me why? So it's that's how it is to be in the post. I always say that it's a very interesting world. One day you can be world champion, the next day you're something that is useless, because everybody measure you on the performance that you give on a day, and that's what I like about this business. The business is really interesting because it's all happening in the moment.
Hey, there's been no bigger measuring stick than the pandemic, right? What has been the most challenging aspect, though, as we move through this pandemic?
I think the challenging aspect is that we, as an end customer, we change our preferences. We tend to take better care of ourselves, which means that home deliveries was something that was disappearing a little bit, but now got really a lot of attention, because people were confined to their houses or where they were, and they needed to have things delivered there. We also saw that postal points where the PUDO networks, where you have a lot of people standing in queue, is not something that we like. So we go more for these package networks where you can have your parcels delivered. So there's a lot of change in the way that we have to handle our end customers in a good way. Secondly, the volumes. The volume was a growth which was unplanned. We had worked on scenarios for the next 5 years, and after 1 year, we were already at year 3. So we had to redo all our capacity calculations and stuff like that. So it's been really good, and I think that the benefit we had as a postal operator is that we had a huge network already. So I think we were quite capable of handling the amount, but I think the challenge has been into the end preferences from the last mile on our end customers, making sure that they get what they need and want.
Christian, you described yourself as a visionary, right? Now, when you think about being a visionary, who inspires that? Who is your biggest inspiration in life that led to you being the visionary that you are now?
Very difficult question. I think it's about what you have inside. If you want to change things, I think it's a good platform. I can't say I've been inspired by one person or something like that. I've been inspired by what's happening in the environment, and always trying to see and it's not just being the postal industry. I really like to follow other industries, and I think that this is where we have to look for our future. We have to to steal with pride, as I usually say. You have to see what went well in other industries and how did they handle, and can we take the same thing and copy that? And I think that is the way that we have to think about things. Putting two bad products together sometimes can make a really good product, and it's a question about trying to figure out how can we merge things. And so it's probably a wish for changing things, and I had that all the time. And sometimes I have to also to say that I have to eat my own medicine, because sometimes I'm changing a lot of things often for other people, and then I get a little bit, when it happened to me, then I get a little bit grumpy, and then I have to just kick my own ass and say, come on, you're asking other people to change, you need to do it yourself as well. So I think we're riding a wave of digitalization, and in my industry, since the first day I entered this postal industry, we've been working on trying to adapt to a world that is ever changing. And I think that's probably that environment that actually pushed me in a direction of looking to the future.
I love it too, because you're almost looking at inspiration as a form of improv, saying yes and being a good partner, staying in the scene and moving things forward towards positive outcomes. Really cool to hear. But we make mistakes time over time. We overlook things, even the biggest visionaries. What is one thing that you wish you noticed early on in this space?
I think hindsight is some of the it's actually really nice, but you hardly can make money on it. But there are things which I regret, and that is probably our level of ambition. We come from an organization which has been living on letters, and we've been living good of letters, as a postal provider, which meant that we could be quite nitty gritty, and we had a lot of areas where we could go really deep without really having an effect. And I think we overcomplicated some things. And I would really, if I go back and look at some of the IT development I've done, I think we went in too ambitious, and we could have cut a lot of our complexity away by just going for a more like an 80% solution than going for the 99. I think that we have been a little bit over ambitious, and this is typically something we see also in the last mile, especially when we look into the IT solutions which are supporting us in the background. So I think that is my biggest hindsight, is that we should have been less ambitious and try to move faster.
Interesting. Wow. I really like I love to hear that. That's a great answer. Let me ask you something then, though. What trends over the next 5 years, right? Because this sort of leads into that. What trends over the next 5 years, especially in this last mile space, to be ambitious, to move faster, should supply chain leaders be looking at?
I think it all comes from our end customers. They are the ones who are changing their behavior. We see now some real fast fluctuations in that people want to. Pandemic has changed the way that we're gonna expect on the future. We are seeing a business in general where we are getting enormous high services, which today is many times based on investments from capital, looking into the future and what we can do in the future on how we will change. So the service level is really, really high, which means that we have to figure out a way to where we want to be. We can't go in on all needs. We need to figure out which corners of the market is the one that we're going to focus on and try to be best there. There are some huge players on the market like Amazon and others which have the funding to do some real testing and actually change markets maybe a little bit faster than we are used to. So I think we have to be very selective in the way that we work, and we have to utilize data much better than we have done before. And I think that one thing that we as a postal operator sit with a humongous amount of data from all our scannings, from all our events that happening in the last mile. And we know a little bit about our customers' preferences, because we can see which kind of, what are they shopping, when are they home, if they don't take choice number one, what is the second choice? And we could use that much more in our communication. So I think that getting closer to our end customers, still while we keep our shippers, orientated all the time, and try to be that little bit faster, provider of information between when things are shipped and to things are received. And also securing that that when we have as an end customer have a need of getting returns, that we are able to give that information also faster, maybe back to the shipper, in order so they can get the credits back to customers or whatever it needs. I think speed is going to be vital in the future, because everything is handling on your app. You sit on your mobile phone, you can lose your wallet. Who cares today? Because your wallet doesn't matter. It's what you have on your phone. This is your communication platform. So everything is expected to be much more fast. And I think also with the new generations we have, they expect things in a different way than I grew up. They also want to communicate. They want to change. They want to, I'm not here, I'm there. Give it to me there. So I think we are in for a challenge as operators in the logistical business.
We sure are. And when you think about it too, the better job we are doing, the more invisible we are, right? I mean, a great job by a postal operator, really, it rubs off on companies like Amazon, right? Because it's really the customer that they're looking at. Unless something really goes wrong, then they're yelling about the post. What is it? And a trend line I've been hearing from a lot of leaders in this space too is this focus on customer experience. What is a trick that you use during last mile delivery to delight your customers, to give them that experience, especially when you're supposed to kind of be invisible anyway?
Yeah, I think that the best thing is that we actually communicate in a good way. We give them expectations on when we deliver, and then we should deliver. And that, I think that is when I order things on Amazon, and I typically do that from Germany, and I don't know if the parcel is coming from Greece or it's coming from from one depot in Germany, or if it's in France and Italy. I find out that when I see my first, the tracking of the parcel. And sometimes you say, okay, fine. If I knew it was in Italy, I knew it would take 4 or 5 days, and I couldn't expect it tomorrow. But many times I don't really care about if it's 3 or 4 days away, where it's doing and stuff like that. But if it's coming to me tomorrow, I want to know that, and I want to know what I can do, where I can pick it up. And I want to have that communication. And I think we're pretty good at that. I think we're pretty good in communicating. We're starting to give information about, when you order something, you don't really know how big is the packaging and stuff like that. And I've seen these nice young girls standing down at the put point, and then they receive 3 parcels, and they just look at it because they can't have it on the back on the back of their bike. So they have to call their husband or whatever it is to help them to bring things home. So what we do now, we give information on weight and volume metrics and try to show it comparison to a person in order to give that extra service that, that we have all these data. We can just use them and give them away. So I think it's about more information and keeping what you promise. And that is difficult enough, but this is what we have to do.
So what factors play a vital role in the fulfillment of that delivery?
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. The IT has to work. You have it obviously, because you have to have that seamless communication between your own operation and what the customers are faced on with their things. It's also a question about, have we built up our processes strong enough so we are quite sure that we are delivering a high percentage delivery all the time. That when we say that we come tomorrow and we deliver in that put point, or we deliver in that pack station, that we can actually fulfill that demand. I think these are the things that is the most vital, is that the process is simple, it's standardized, and it's working, and it can take a lot of bashing without making sure that our customers are hit.
IT, you mentioned it, vital factor, but how about automation? How much spend is moving towards automation, especially as this space becomes even more crucial, this last mile space? And how are supply chain leaders measuring the ROI from these investments in automation?
I think we have been automizing the last 30 years. And I think that the thing is coming now we start automation also in the data. We are trying to find a way to that's why I talked about standardization before. As soon as you have standards in processes and standards in products, then you have possibility to make standards in IT. And then you can add on that, you can start to use all the data that you have collected over the last couple of years in order to get some good ideas about, what is the preferences of our customers, when are they home, when are they not home. All these data is something that we can collect and do automation on. And I think that we will see that utilizing of data and I would say saving data is something that is going to be vital for our industry. We have had that. We come from an industry that is not an IT company. An IT company will always say save data. I heard that at H&M they on their on their home pages, they say 1 billion tracks every day. If I say that to our organization, we should start to save everything, they will say it's a cost, because we're looking into a wrong way, because data is actually the future. And I think that that is getting that automation in saving data, having metadata always. We know where parcel is, we know where our drivers are, we know where our locations are. We can actually also start to communicate with the customers actually before they enter the shop, if we already have established a relationship with them, because we can do that on the Wi-Fi signals. So actually the parcel can be ready in a put point actually before they come and into the shop. There's all these possibilities if you look into what are the visions that we see in utilizing the data. And as you say, that is automation, but that is data automation. So, and then you also, if you look into our last mile, we have all these things about autonomous cars and stuff like that. That will come, but it's not just around the corner. But we are facing a trend right now, is that in many places in Western Europe, we have difficulties in getting drivers. We have difficulties in getting staff which want to work at night, because we have to face it. Most of our things is day-to-day delivery, and the only time where we can work is actually at night. And we have problems in making sure that we can have the qualified staff that we need in these times of day, because in Denmark we testing so many people for COVID. So all the people who used to work for us at night, they can test it at daytime and they get higher salary than they get at nighttime. So we need to figure out how to automate these processes and bring in robots and stuff like that, in order to make sure that some of the heavy lifting or things which are not making sense, that we have robots doing that in the future. And these are typical the things we're looking at right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned, autonomous vehicle delivery, but you have a realistic view of it, right? It's still a little ways off. There's a lot of regulations to move through. There's a lot of testing. And not to mention, we're talking about final mile here. So there's kind of a final footstep problem too. This autonomous vehicle shows up, but how does it get from the vehicle to my doorstep without inconveniencing me up on the couch? What is your thought on the final mile delivery via autonomous vehicles, though?
We are talking a lot about this, what we call a slipper effect. How far from your bedpost, or you would say so, is your home still. And one of the things that we are working on is trying to get a good unattended delivery, and maybe finding out that the parcel lockers, if we can put them near your home, you have the same convenience if you get it at home, because you can just go. Probably you have to walk the dog, or you have to go for groceries or whatever. And if you can have that on the way, that you don't mind having that. So these are some of the things that we have to look into. And so maybe we can avoid the final step. And I think that we all have looked at all these robots who try to jump on your porch. I would be pretty scared if I had one of these Boston Dynamic animals hopping up on my front porch and trying to deliver a parcel. I've seen too many bad movies. So, but I think that instead of, we can find a way that we can share some very local pack stations and stuff like that, and we can find a way to robotize them. You could have a autonomous vehicle backing in, putting a module into one of these things, and then filling it up, emptying. It's a vision we are not too far away. So I think that there are places for everything, but some things take longer time than others. And as you say, we have a lot of regulation things, but it's also what are we, how do we as people, fit into this? I think if we were walking on the walking, the pavements, and then we had to jump over one little robot after the other with a parcel on the back, I think that also will bring some attention from the municipalities and stuff like that, and say this doesn't work. So we need to figure out a way in the business to do this more or less together. And we are always looking at what's happening all over the world, from China to even South America. So this is what.
Well, when you look really far ahead, you look to 2050. What's one word that comes to mind to describe this last mile delivery space? For me, I think it would, based on what you've been saying, I think it might be speed. Speed
is the thing. Speed is the thing that we're looking at. And you see the way that you build things up. You have these some products you don't need speed in, and those you can have in one process. And then you have the things which are commodities which you need from almost minute to minute. And I think that the market will pretty be, from a process point, be segmented into what is where do you have the highest speed. But its speed it's everything. It's in the way that we respond between shippers to senders to us as a provider, and there's a lot of data in there. So speed is we can all say that we need speed and we know need information, but there is always, can you be fast enough? No, you never probably will be fast enough until you can beam the parcels. Then we're probably there. But I don't even dare to look at 2050. At that time I probably would be gone anyway. But I would say, if I look into what's happening the next 10 years, I think speed is always there, and I think also we will see a higher grade of automation even in the last mile. And we will find a way that I'm looking at all kind of funny solutions for how to make an unattended delivery at home, because waiting for a person who's not there is quite costly for our business. So we need to make sure that if we have a shipper who has paid for a attended delivery at home, that we actually have a dialogue with that receiver saying, okay, do you really need to be home, or is it good enough that we strap it to your door or whatever? I've seen some solutions like that yesterday. There are so many solutions coming up, and I think that this is the beauty of this area, is that so much is happening, and everybody wants to take a part of it. So there's a lot of crazy ideas, and you have to wander through a forest of ideas and try to figure out where you fit in order to make the path that fits for your organization.
Yeah, there's even ones that they're testing, some that I'm not even comfortable with, like Walmart here in the U.S. In some areas, they have in-home delivery where they'll bring your groceries right into your refrigerator and your freezer for you. That's a little too close for comfort for me. But like we said, there's so much innovation happening in this space right now. It's really exciting to see it, but a lot of it still driven by humans. As much as we talk about automation, autonomy, all that stuff, how many delivery people do you have on board right now, and is that number growing?
The number has been growing through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think we are around 20,000 right now in the Nordics, if I'm not too wrong. We also tested in-home delivery, but it also changes about where do you have your refrigerator in the future? Could you have a double door, so you have one door where you deliver in and one where you use it? We tested that. There is a percentage of customers who like that. And we probably, if you're gonna do this again, I don't think we are not into groceries, but we tried a little bit before. You just have a camera mounted on your tie and say, okay, fine, and you send that video to the customer saying, hey, it's Christian. I was visiting your house. I delivered these goods. You can look at the video, and if you have any questions, just contact me. That doesn't take 2 seconds. All that could be something done verbally and just transmitted. So I think we will see that you can get a service depending on what you want and what you need. And if you feel comfortable with it, then you take it. If you don't feel it, you have a box outside the door, and then you receive it from there. I think that we will see that enormous flexibility is something that will be the biggest challenge for us.
Which tasks? So I mean, tech is great and it's a tool. Which tasks has tech, or which have been most crucial to you or most impactful for you, that they've taken off your table? Maybe they've automated or just made your life easier or made you more money.
I think that we are just seeing what is going to happen now. I think that visual analytics is something that is coming huge now. Cameras, for the first time, we have a possibility to convert camera pictures to ones and zeros, as I usually say. You can transform what you see into data. You can use AI engines in order to make analysis on what you see, and you can detect patterns. You can do all kinds of things. I think that is going to change, because it's going to change the way that we are capturing information, which is also going to lower our cost and going to increase the value that we have of the same information. Right now, you have to scan everything you do. Every time you have a responsibility change, you have to scan it, because otherwise nobody can, the reason we do it everywhere is to say, okay, I prove and I deliver it to here, so the problem is yours. As an end customer, I don't care about that. But the thing is that if you look at that from a camera point, we can just monitor and say, okay, fine, here is a stray parcel. It shouldn't be here. This one should not be here. And I think that the camera technology will be one of the things that change the future quite a lot, because it will make many informations much cheaper to access, and thereby also make sure that we can use the data in a different way than today. So I think that one is coming a lot.
Christian, which one do you prefer in terms of tech, in-house or outsourced services?
I prefer a mix. I don't think that is as a once and hundred here. I think it's a mix, and you will find figure out. I think we talk about more and more about partnerships in the future. You find some companies that you bond with, and then you develop together with them, or you bring in a group of partners and try to solve a problem. I will say that is probably what's going to happen in the future. I personally, for the things, I'm doing quite a lot of proof of concept right now, and we are using one vendor for that. But we always seek inspiration in other places, and always try to talk to as many as possible, because you cannot capture all the ideas yourself, and how the heck should you be so smart? There is a combination of companies and good innovative people, and this is where you sit around the table and share ideas, and the postal industry is quite different from any other industries, because we come from a national postal service, which means that we were not competing against each other. So we have an extreme openness and sharing of innovation and ideas, which actually make us as an industry, can take up some of the fight against the new ones in the industry who are born mobile. I think we can do that because we have an enormous amount of knowledge, an enormous amount of people who know this business, and the postal industry, you tend to stay there quite long, like me. Especially if you're a little bit, with the domain knowledge. There's a lot of people who has a lot of domain knowledge.
Yeah, my uncle was a lifer in the postal service too. He hung out. He got the pension, and now he's having a good time playing Keno in the bars in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Lucky him.
I loved yours. So it's impossible. Amazon, the Amazon effect, right? It has such a dramatic effect on the psyche of the buyer, of the consumer, of the expectation, of the experience, and of on-day delivery, sometimes within the hour. What kind of pressure does that put on your team, though, to innovate and to keep pace with Amazon?
I think, I will say that pressure is not. It actually gives us a good ground for competition, and actually try to be more innovative and try to find partners. And I'm not afraid to take the phone and call Amazon as well. And I use the services all the time, and I figure out that, hey, here they are damn good. We should do something like this. And that in the Nordic right now, we see Amazon is growing quite a lot, but it's not in the stage of like in Germany or in America for that sake. We are not there yet. And I was in contact with Amazon maybe 20 years ago. I think that the first time that they were actually looking into get our help in order, because they knew we were closest to their end customer. So I think that they're smart people, and that's why we also look into what they're doing. And every time they post a video on YouTube, I'm not the last one to look at it. I'm see what can I learn from them now. And I think that is actually the beauty of this business, is that it is competitive, and that's also why we see a lot of young people are now going into this last mile industry, because logistic was not that hot before COVID. Now it's bloody hot. Everybody wants to be in it. So it also attracts a lot of new people, and we see it with all the new technologies coming up, and we find a use for many of them. That is actually the beauty of this, that there is this competitive environment, and we are challenging each other, and enormous amount of startups which are brilliant and pushing our boundaries. And yeah, I can only say that I get inspired of it.
It was wild over the holidays. Relatives were finally asking me what I do, like what's going on in this space, in this part of the world. Not that I just drive a FedEx truck or something, or deliver to the mailbox. I mean, it's a huge interconnected global supply chain. Now, you said something earlier about ordering. Like you order on Amazon, and sometimes because all third-party sellers, you can make this mistake. You think you're getting it like Prime, or it's going to be there in 2 days, but it's in Italy, or here in the U.S. it's in China. And next thing you know, it's going smart post. It's going to take 30 days, and you didn't realize it. For you, to me, that's one of the biggest red flags, or at least you got to be mindful of where it's coming from. What for you is another red flag that the delivery is just going to go south?
I think you touched the one you said is also for me the one of them, that this is about the see-throughness of the process that you're actually starting. And I think that sometimes I don't feel like our shippers are honest about where their product is when they when are they giving it to us as a postal organization. From we deliver it, they expect that we deliver it next day. That's how it is. But as an end consumer, I could see my Amazon inbox, how many things I purchased the last year. It was quite a lot. And many of them, how often is it that I need something the next day? It's very rarely. I'm looking at, okay, this is a good idea to get it. But I think that you're actually, the way that we are communicating across, and about where does it come from. I ordered something from England after Brexit. I should never have done that. It took a month, and I had to figure out about customs and all that things. And I was like, damn, if I knew this when I was ordering, I would never have gone that way. I would have found another vendor maybe in Poland instead or whatever, because that would be another speed. So I think that the honesty of the distribution is actually something that we will see in the future, it will mean much more. You find the places where you feel there is a trust. I guess that you will shop for cheap also, because that is a part of it. But you will also look into, okay, fine, do we trust this shipper that he can, by the help of us as a postal organization, deliver in the day that I need? I think that is going to be quite some things that's going to change right now. And we see also, many products that we've been ordering from China before, when we had these low prices of shipping. The Chinese now move their storage into Europe, which means that they can be delivering much faster, and they don't have the custom problems. And this is the way that they've seen that they have to move closer to the end customers, in order to make sure that they can keep the promises, because otherwise it doesn't work. So I think that the distance is also quite a part of it. And COVID showed also that near sourcing is probably a little bit better than far sourcing. So it's good to know where your processes start and where they end. I think that will be happening a lot of that in logistics.
Yeah, it's been a challenge in the U.S. especially. We've made our bed a little bit over here, and we're really dealing with the struggles of that, with shortages on just about everything. It's been a wild year. But one of my favorite professors said to me that as long as you keep learning, you'll never get old. So give us a sip from the fountain of youth and tell us what your favorite business book is. What should we be reading?
I think that Clayton Christensen is the one you should look into. Go and get your milkshake. And look at the way that what's the job of the milkshake. I love that. It's if you haven't seen it, any of our viewers here, or go and do that. Clayton Christensen, and look about the milkshake, because you will figure out what is the job of the thing that you actually expect it to be. Is a milkshake is actually for because you're thirsty, or is it because you want to have time to go in and you will enjoy something over a long time? And I think it's something like that. What is the job that you have to do? I think that's the most important thing, because otherwise you will miss your end consumer.
Christian, aside from hockey, what's your favorite activity out there up in Nordic territory?
I'm Danish, but I've been following hockey lately, but not much. But it's football that is the one that we spend our time with. But I'm a traveler. I like to travel all the world, and I can't wait till this pandemic can go away, so I can be out in all the countries. I have a goal to go to 220 countries. I'm still at 86. I've been stuck now for 2 years. I'm getting crazy. So let's solve this COVID thing, and so we can start and enjoy our good life again.
Yeah, I was ready to book a whole European tour this year, and then you start hearing about, like, they open up travel in Australia, then tourists get there and you're quarantined for 14 days, and I'm like, that sounds horrible. It's a nightmare. I will wait until like 23 or 24 or whenever, like, the thought of rapid testing is gone, and they can keep you on a flight and quarantine you. I have no interest in that. What keeps you up at night, or how many hours do you sleep a night? Actually, most people I've interviewed across a number of shows that I do, very few are over 8 hours. Although a lot of gurus online claim to, like, I get 12 hours. How do you get 12 hours of sleep a night? We're in supply chain. How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I'm happy if I get 6.
Yeah.
But I think that, my wife is forcing me to get towards 7. I for many years I was around 5. But I think it's because you like what you do, and you want to keep up with many things. I'm quite happy where I am right now, but I know that I'm not getting younger. I need to look into the future as well, and the future will not be logistics other than being a buyer. So I try to work towards the 7, but I'm far away.
Yeah. Well, I have one last question for you before I let you go, and you kind of touched on it, reflecting, looking back on this journey so far. If you had to describe it in a word or phrase, what would you say?
I would say it's been a wonderful challenge. When you wake up every morning and you figure out that the day that you're gonna have is gonna be more challenging than the day that you had before, but in a good way. I think that's the most stimulating thing I have. And always, when I have a setback, I'm quite moody for one night, and then during the night I wake up and I have an idea to get around it again. And I think that's if you have that spirit inside, I think that's the way that you can go to the future with with a comfort, because you will find a way through it. And this is pretty much how I see my day.
Christian, you seem like you're in such an amazing state of contention, right? I think that you've done well, and you know that you've done well, and there's more of a journey to go ahead. Hey, thank you so much for sitting with us today and for this great conversation. Audience, thanks for joining us on the Final Mile Vodcast. This has been Dooner. Any final words for the audience here before we send them off?
No, I think you will look into a future which is going to be quite interesting. I think that's the best thing. We are going to do our best to make it the best journey for you forever. And I think that keep up your convenience demands, because this is what's going to change the world. So yeah, I think that's the future is going to only be better and fun.
Well, Christian, drop the mic. You just nailed it. Excellent. Well, thank you, folks. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Final Mile Vodcast. Until then, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey,